Hello! This is Mr. Stutz and
Miss Nave, hello!
we are going to give you a quick run through on how to find all sorts of cool landmarks using Google Spreadsheets. You'll notice I've got a spreadsheet here with some data off to the side. This is what I'm going to be using, and we're going to walk through the very easy steps needed to find the mean, the median, the mode, the minimum, the maximum, the range, and for blue students, blue level taking problem set working students, we'll be looking at the lower quartile and the upper quartile, which is what is needed for a box and whisker plot. But let's start off with things that everybody needs to take a look at, including the mean or average. You'll notice I put the words here just as a reference for what we're going to be finding. Now, the mean is what's commonly referred to as the average, which makes things kind of straightforward for us as we're using Google Docs. Whenever we want Google Docs to do a computation for us, we always have to tell it to start that computation by typing in an equal sign. So right here next to where I've got mean or average, I'm going to type in an equal sign because I'm going to have Google Drive do some calculations for me. I want Google Drive to find the average of these numbers. So I'm just going to start typing in average. And notice I get some hints here as to what I'm actually trying to find. So if I pick average and I click on it, you'll notice I get a nice all capital letters formula there with a parentheses. That parentheses is the beginning of where I need to enter the data range that I'm looking at. And to enter the data range, all I have to do is click and drag on the numbers that I want included. And you'll notice that Google Drive puts those numbers right in place. I'm using cell A1, and then the colon means all the way through and including cell A27. And once I've got that average, A1 to A27, I can close my parentheses and hit enter, and the average will automatically be calculated. Now, a couple of things to notice. First of all, you'll see that I've got crazy numbers of decimal points here. I can always tell Google Spreadsheets how many decimal points I want. If I click on the cell and I go to where this number piece is, I can tell it to have no decimal points, it's rounded, 2 decimal points, or I could tell a certain custom number of decimal points. If I wanted to have just to the nearest 10th, I would type 1 decimal point. If I wanted to have it to the nearest 1,000th, I could do 3 decimal points. Whenever I've got my right decimal points, I click OK, and you'll see then it's rounded to the nearest 1,000th. Okay? Another point to take note of. Suppose I wanted to find the average, and I typed in equals average. Uh-oh, I made a spelling mistake. Notice how it doesn't go to capital letters, and if I highlight and close the parentheses, Google Spreadsheet will say, hello, you've made a mistake. I don't know what average is. Okay? You've got to be really careful that you are spelling everything correctly. Now, if I want to go back and I fix it, up here in what's called the formula bar, I can go in, take out that extra E, backspace, and now when I hit enter, things will work out again for me. Okay? So that's really nice. It's handy that you just have to type in those words and it will do the calculations for you. It's not so handy that you have to be perfect in your spelling, but that will come some practice. Alright, I'm going to delete that one and move on to finding the median. Okay, median is even more straightforward because there's no fancy word for median. I just say equals median parentheses and then start highlighting my numbers. Close parentheses, enter, and there's my median. Same thing with mode. Mode's another nice one. Equals mode. Now, I have the choice of either putting in my own parentheses, or I can choose from the one down here, highlight the data, and now I'm going to take a cheating short step. If I'm just using one of these, I don't even need to close the parentheses. If I just hit enter right now, it closes them for me. Okay, so I've got the mean, median, mode. Now I want to look at finding the range. Okay, but the range is the biggest number minus the smallest number. So I need to figure out what that biggest number and the smallest number are before I can do anything else. All right, and once again, Google Spreadsheets makes it very easy to do so. All I need to say is equals min parentheses, and this will tell me the smallest number. If I look at all these numbers, the smallest one should be, I think, 16. Let's see if that works out. Awesome. And the max equals max parentheses, the biggest number. What's the winner? Who's the winner here? 39. Excellent. Okay, so now if my biggest number is 39 and my smallest number is 16, my range should turn out to be, that's right, 23. I don't want to just type in the numbers 23. I always want to use formulas as much as possible when I'm working with spreadsheets, because what happens if I change one of the numbers? In fact, that's a great number. What happens if, great question. What happens if I change this number 39 and make it 45? Well, that should probably change the mean. It should probably change the maximum. Let's take a look at what happens. See how those numbers automatically update? That's a great part of using a spreadsheet. The fact that the numbers will automatically change if you use formulas. I'll switch that back to 39. And now let's see, how are we going to tell the spreadsheet to calculate the range? I'm going to say spreadsheet, calculate something. And what I want you to do is I want you to calculate the biggest number, which is our max. And I've got to tell it what numbers I'm using. The maximum of all these numbers, close parentheses, right? So that will pick out the biggest number out of all of these. And I want to subtract the smallest number out of all of these. So once again, I just click and drag. Notice how it's red, a little different color as I was going through it. Max minus min. And it should turn out to be what? 23, right? Calculate, calculate. Ah, there it is. So now we figured out the mean, median, mode, min, max, and range. If you are doing green level work, that's as far as you need to watch. Now it's time for you to hop in, make your own data sets up, and start playing with these landmarks. Blue level students, stick around for a minute. Let's look at the ideas behind the quartiles. Okay, blue level, when you're making a box and whisker plot, you need to know the minimum, you need to know the maximum, you need to know the the median. You also need to know what's known as the lower quartile and the upper quartile. And basically, you would say that the first quartile is after 25% or after 1/4 of all the data has gone by. The median would be the second quartile, or after 50% of the data, in other words, right in the middle. The upper quartile would be after 75% of all the data has gone by, and that would be the median of the top half. Okay, so what Google Docs does for us is it provides a quick and easy way of calculating these quartiles. All right, so let's take a look at what we would do. We need to tell Google Docs, I need you to calculate the quartile. And now you see there's this qualifier that comes up here. It says, I need to know not only the data, but I need to know the type of quartile. In other words, you got to tell me the numbers you're looking at, and do you want the first, second, or third quartile? All right. Well, if I'm looking at the lower bit, obviously I've kind of put that here. That's the first quartile, and here's quick definitions of them. Right. 0 is the minimum. The first quartile is the 25%, the median of the lower part. The second quartile is the median. The third is the 75th mark, and fourth is the maximum. Okay. So if I'm going to find the lower quartile, I'm just going to put quartile. I tell it the data, and then this is a really important little change here. I got to put in a comma and tell it the first quartile. Okay. Now, what do you think I would get if I put in the second quartile? Just for the heck of it. I got 27.5 for this first quartile, what should I get for the second quartile? I should get the median, right? That should give me 30. Let's see what happens if I change it in the formula bar. I change it to 2, and then I hit enter. Boom. See how it gives me the median. Excellent. So this is working out nicely. We'll put it back to the first quartile. We'll make the third quartile equals quartile. Pick the data. And then we'll take the third quartile and hit enter, and there's my upper quartile. Now if I was making a box and whisker plot, this would be the whisker on the left hand side. This would be the first line in the box. This would be the middle line in the box. This would be the right line in the box. And this would be the whisker on the far right hand side. And now you know how to make a box and whisker plot and find all these landmarks. Enjoy!